Welcome back to another episode of the Bet.com podcast. Now, as this episode is being recorded, as we all know, the news that LeBron James is signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, making them, well, they were already out. I'm not going to say they were a championship contender, but I definitely saw them as a top five team coming out the East. But with him on the team now, it definitely is going to make them in that conversation of at least top three. Now, over the basketball discourse, I've seen that people are worried about, what's VJ Edgecombe's role going to be on this team. A lot of people are saying he should be traded. A lot of people saying he should find a way out. Me personally, I don't think so. Why would you? Like, he could look. I feel like in situations like this, it's about perspective, man. Like, if I'm him, you could see it two ways. You could see it as a negative in terms of, all right, my minutes are probably going to lessen are going to be lesser. We got LeBron James, we got JB, we got Maxey, we got Embiid, we got Anthony Simons. I'm probably going to take a backseat role. I'm probably going to have to be a role player now and not to get as many shots, not get as many looks, and sulk and be like, I thought it was going to be me and Maxey running it back together, not me, JB, Maxey, and Braun. But I would say this like you could look at it that way, but also you could look at it positive as all right, well, I'm getting arguably the greatest player of all time, along with Jaylen Brown, who just won the finals, 3 years ago, averaged 28 points per game, leading his own team. One of the best two-way players in the NBA, LeBron, who once was one of the best two-way players in the NBA, played at a high level, played in all these finals, all these big games. I'm learning all this knowledge. I got vets in my locker room that people at his age wish they had, because a lot of people from his draft class, and players that I've seen picked as high as he was, or usually start on bad teams. They're not on teams that are in the playoffs or contending for championships. They're on teams that's like bottom feeder level. But for him, I would just look at it like, man, like all of this knowledge that I'm about to learn, all of the nooks and crannies of the game I'm about to learn off the court, on the court, how to be a professional. This is what you want. Like I get a chance to compete for a championship, you know, year two. Like there's guys going to year two that's like, damn, I'm just trying to get better, man. I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to make it to my next year. I'm just trying to make it through the season healthy, man. I really don't have no real high expectations for my team because I already see what we have. But for him, it's like, bro, we was able to add LeBron James. Like that's not just anybody. We can't, scale and look over that. Like this is, in people's eyes, their goal. Like, and for him to come here, it's like, bro, this is I'm spoiled, man. Like I have all of this talent around me. How can I not get better? How can I not learn and soak up as much energy I can from these guys? Now, granted, will his shot attempts go down? Maybe, possibly. But at the same time, he'll be able to become a better two-way player, play better defense, rebound, be high energy, you know, play, and it's okay to, and I'm not gonna say he's a role player now because everybody has a role on a team. So it's like I can't really call him. Everybody technically is a role player because if you really think about it, everybody has their own role. So that could, you know, make them a role player. Now, of course, some people probably gonna be like, "Oh, what do you mean a role player? Like LeBron's not a role player." But LeBron has always had a role. Like he favors Magic Johnson more than Michael Jordan. Like he's a pass first. Well, he can score first and pass first, but I feel like in his mentality, he wants to set his teammates up. If you've seen him play, you've seen him dime up a lot of his teammates. Like he's had games where he's had 10 plus assists, 15 points, 10 rebounds. And I feel like he's okay with that. Like he would rather let other people shine over him, especially at this stage of his career. Like he's 42 now. He don't want to be the face of the team. Like he knows whose team this is. Like this is Max's team. I'm just coming in as not not saying he's LeBron James old, but I'm just coming in as, LeBron James, older, wiser, learn. I've been through it all. So I'm just here to help the young guys and help them compete for a championship because we do have that opportunity. I feel like in VJ's case, you would be dumb to want out of this situation. Like, there's guys who going like somebody like Darius Acuff. He got drafted to Sacramento. Now, I don't know their roster, from top to bottom, but it's not going to be good. Like they're not going to compete for they're not even competing for a playing spot, let alone the playoffs. They can't even speak playoffs. Like playoffs are in a different stratosphere. I just feel like when it comes to somebody like Darius Acuff, not that he was going to wish that he was on a better team because he's just happy to be in the NBA. Granted, he's a rookie and he just wants to go through the motions and see like how it goes. What's the business side of the NBA like? What's the NBA like? But if this is year 4 for him down the line, he's still on a bad team, or year 5, he's gonna be like, okay, like, what are we doing? Like, yes, I'm developing, but we're not going anywhere. Like, I'm a winner at heart. Like, I want to win. Like, no player does not want to win. Like, I feel like in VJ's case, like, why why would I want out of this? Like, why would I want to leave this? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm spoiled, man. Like, I'm in a situation that other guys would kill to be in. So I have no real issues. Like, it's only an issue if he lets it become an issue. But I feel like internally, that's a conversation that could be had between players. Like, yo, we all go out to eat, or we all get on a group FaceTime. There's so many different avenues and ways of guys to reach out to each other now in the social media space. It's like, if we have any issues, we can just hash it out and have a conversation. Like, I feel like anything can be solved over a conversation. And I feel like a lot of times in the past, there's been I don't want to say teams similar to this team, but we've seen teams that were super talented that may have fell off because of a miscommunication, or the media will say something to destroy the locker room, and it's because a lot of players let it happen. You know, I feel like a lot of the greatest duos in NBA history, they broke up because not be, and maybe sometimes it was they didn't like each other, but I feel like a lot of times it's because of media will create narratives, and some one of them may believe it, and then I would make him be like, you know what, I don't want to play with this dude no more. Like, I believe that narrative that reporter said about him, like, he's showing flashes of that, instead of me calling him and be like, hey man, listen, you know what's going on, like, how can we fix this, how can we get back on the right track. Like, I remember when Gary Payton said that when Shaq got to the Heat, he told him, like, this is D Wade's team now. Like, let him cook. And not to go too much off the rails, but just to tie that into VJ, it's like, bro, like, nothing is wrong with you being, having a lesser role this year, because if you guys do win it all, it'll all pay off. Like, as long as you guys are winning, it shouldn't matter like who gets the most shot attempts, whose team it is, like who's the face of the franchise. Like, winning should solve everything. Granted, does it solve everything? No, it doesn't. But I feel like in this situation, for Philadelphia 76ers fans and Philadelphia fans in general, for a team that hasn't won since Dr. J, I think Dr. J was the last player that brought them a championship. They went to the finals with AI, but they lost to the Lakers, and they haven't been back since what, 2001. So this could be something special, man. Like, I got them no less than top 4 coming out the East, man. Like, right now, I got the Knicks. I got to put them. I got Miami, and I was like, granted, Boston lost Jaylen Brown, but I can't. I just don't see how there's a way that they're going to be outside of like the top 4, let alone 5, just because Tatum is coming back. They got Paul George. People are going to say Paul George is injury prone. Take with that what you will. They still got Payton Pritchard. They still got the coach. They still got Derek White. They're still hungry. They're still the Boston Celtics. Now, are they what they used to be? No. But they still have key players from the team that won them a championship. But I say that all to say, like, just going back to VJ, still a young player. I actually watched VJ in high school. I saw him play in Long Island, Rhode Island. Um, I saw him play in Long Island, at Hofstra University, actually. Yeah, Rhode Island, at Hofstra. It was pretty cool. He played against Cooper Flag. That was a really good game, and I got the chance to see him really, like, I don't want to say show his full, capabilities, because he was still in high school. He was still a raw young player. He's still a raw young player now, but he showed flashes of what he could be. Like, he has athleticism. He can get better at shooting. He can get a little bit stronger, which he will. And I feel like having players like Jaylen Brown and Braun in the locker room is going to push this kid even further than he ever thought of going. I feel like if you're a guy his age with Maxi, 2 young guys, damn, we like, damn, bro, like, I want to be in the gym as much times as I can with those 2 guys, JB and LeBron, like, to the point where I'm annoying these guys. Like, yo, why you always on my hip, bro? I'm trying to learn all the nooks and crannies that you know. Give me the gems that you have been giving out for your last few teammates. Matter of fact, I'm calling your old teammates to be like, oh, listen, Luca, what was it like playing with Braun? Yo, D'Lo, yo, Shumpert, yo, J.R. Smith. How was it playing this role? Like, what can I do to affect the game in a positive way to help Braun so he helps me? Because Braun knows he has less years in front of him than behind him, if that makes sense. Like he has less years going, if that makes sense. Like, what I'm trying to say. So it's like, before I leave, let me try to, like, help the young guys out, get them, like, acclimated to, like, the things that I've been through, the things that I've seen. Going through competing for champions, going through not living up to expectations in certain seasons, and pushing through. because this is all going to benefit them in the long run. Because who's to say in two? Imagine what VJ would look like 2 years after playing with Braun. Like imagine, like envision that, like the strength, the IQ, the shooting. Imagine what that's going to look like 2, 3 years from now after Braun leaves, and it's like, dang, we was telling him he should leave, and now look, it all worked out for him. He possibly could have a ring at that moment in time. He possibly could be an all star at that person at that point in time, and it really could be the Maxie and Edgecombe show. Like I say that all to say, like if I was in his position, if I was in his shoes, bro, listen, man, what y'all need from me? Like, well, what y'all need me to do, and I'll do it. Like I'll put my pride aside because I know in the long run it's gonna push us to at least if not competing for a championship, competing for an Eastern Conference Finals championship with the Knicks. Like, how can I put myself in the best position to win? And his organization has shown him, this is how serious we're about winning. We went out and got LeBron James for the low, 2 years, $8 million. That's the lowest contract this guy's ever signed. His Sprite deal cost more than that. And for him to be in that locker room with the young guys, bro, to see him across the locker room and really see him and be in those meetings with him, man, I would die for a situation like that if I was VJ. Like, and I feel like he's going to take full advantage of this situation. I don't feel like there's really any real issues. I feel like the whole trade thing and he should want out. He should be angry. It's all media, man. Like they always want to create conflict between teams. They've been doing this since the beginning of time. They're going to continue to do it even now with social media. But I feel like in their locker room with what they have in there, it's water under a bridge, bro. They're not. Ain't no. We still in the off season, bro. Like training camp ain't start yet. Nobody really reported to they organizations yet. So it's like, bro, we ain't letting that ruin our team. I feel like behind closed doors, we've already had this conversation. This is what the role's gonna be. Hey man, listen, I'm Braun, but I'm coming in, to be passed first. I'm trying to get you guys open looks, try to get you guys better looks. And I'll say this when it comes to Braun. People like knock on him about like, when he leaves certain teams, like they get worse. But his whole thing is like, I wanna, you know, make this team or this situation better than what I found it. Because a lot of the teams that he's signed with, you know, him getting drafted by the Cavaliers, they wasn't really good since the '90s, and then he helps them go to the finals. Year 2, year 3, and then he left that, goes to Miami, wins 2 out of 4. At that time they didn't win since D Wade won in '06. Leaves that, goes to back to Cleveland because he feels like in my mind I owed him, you know, and it all worked out there. Goes to LA, it works out there. So everywhere he really goes, it really does work out. Outside of when people say he leaves situations and it gets worse, listen, that has nothing to do with me. I did what I had to do. I clocked in, I did my hours, I did my 10,000 hours. I helped the team. We won. We raised the trophy. I'm out. I'm gonna go help the next organization. Now he's with Philly. They haven't won in so long. They haven't been, they've been relevant, but they haven't been championship relevant in so long. Off of Embiid's injuries and just bad situations. Kawhi's game winner with the Raptors. Like they just been in some tough situations. But to add a LeBron James, to have VJ, Maxey, JB, it's only one basketball, but I feel like sacrifice is going to be the main word between all these guys. It's really going to come down to sacrifice, and I feel like if they're able to do that and they're healthy, the sky's the limit for this team. But I'll say this all to say just to wrap this episode up. This has been the Better.com podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.